What's going on, guys? This is Redline here, bringing you guys another Outriders build video. This is going to be a build based around the Deathproof set for the Devastator. Now, it took me a minute to put this build together because I honestly didn't know what kind of route to go with it. But with a lot of testing and RNG, I was able to come up with a pretty good build that I think I'm pretty proud of, to be honest with you. A few notable facts about this build is that it's a balanced but pretty strong overall build. It does pretty good damage. You're going to see there's going to be synergy between stats, your anomaly power, armor, and firepower. And you're pretty tanky with this build as well. Not saying that you're going to be unkillable, but you're going to be able to negate a whole lot of damage when using this build. Before we get into everything else, I want to first read out what the set bonus does for the Deathproof set so that you can understand where everything comes into play. So the set bonus, the Deathproof set bonus is reduce cooldown of boulder dash by 90% and increase firepower by 30% of armor. So your firepower is going to get an increase based off of how much armor you have. So let's get into the skills and class points. The skills we're going to be using is Earthquake, release a shockwave to deal 141,444 damage and interrupt all enemies in front of you. Endless Mass, select a target to encase in stone, inflicting bleed and pulling enemies within a small radius towards the initial target. The stone will then explode, dealing 296,370 damage, and apply slow to all enemies within a small radius around the target. And of course, Boulder Dash, charge forward to interrupt all enemies in your path and deal 233,383 damage. And at the end of the charge, you will smash the ground and deal 233,383 damage to all enemies within a small radius around you. While active, receive 65% bonus to incoming damage reduction. So like I said before, it took me a while to figure out which route I wanted to go. But I finally came up with going the anomaly route for this set. So we're going to go with anomaly power, cooldown reduction, anomaly power, and then we're going to go with paladin. Using skills increases anomaly power by 45% for 10 seconds. And then we're going to go cooldown, anomaly power, and we're going to go with anomaly bullets, increases firepower by 15% of your anomaly power. Then we're going to go up here to stone circle, extend the distance considered to be close range by an additional 4 meters. And then through the mob, increase your armor by 15% for each enemy in close range. I'm going to go up to Colossus and then heirloom armor. When an enemy dies in your close range, 20% of their armor will be transferred to you for 10 seconds. And then I use the extra node to grab tank to increase my armor by 20%. And then down here we're going to go with cooldown reduction, anomaly power, executioner, increase damage by 20% against enemies below 30% health, anomaly power, rejuvenation, and then this is going to be the key node for it all. For the build, increase your armor by 40% of your anomaly power. So the more anomaly power we get, the more our armor goes up. And based off the set, our firepower is based off of armor. So when our anomaly power goes up, the armor goes up, and then the firepower goes up. And then skill sentry, this is also a key. Increase armor by 20% and resistance by 20% for 10 seconds. When your skill ends, the bonus does not stack. So anytime you use your skill, at the end of the skill, you're going to get another increase of armor by 20% and resistance by 20%, which of course is going to increase your firepower as well. And then I went out here with Bloodbath, and I didn't use this node because Earthquake is not our main damage dealer, so you don't have to worry about that. So as far as the pack tree, we're going with impact point. Your seismic and kinetic skill damage is increased by an additional 50% of your anomaly power. Bonus damage is split among all damaged enemies. Obliteration, increase your anomaly power and resistance piercing by 10%. Each damaged enemy increases the bonus by 3% up to additional 9% for 3 seconds. Earth and Shell damage dealt with skills is converted to shield. This is what's gonna make you tanky. In terms of engagement, 60% of damage dealt by kinetic skill is stored and added to your next kinetic skill. The effect resets every time you release your stored energy. So anytime I use Endless Mass to gather all those enemies together, it's going to do damage. 60% of that damage is going to be added to my Boulder Dash and make it stronger. And then lastly, Momentum. Each enemy damaged by your kinetic skill reduces ongoing cooldowns of other kinetic skills by 1 second up to 4 seconds. So anytime you use your Endless Mass and it goes on cooldown, when I use my Boulder Dash to hit all those enemies that gathered, it's just going to reduce my cooldown on my Endless Mass again. So that's what that's where this is going to come in handy at. Now, as far as Ascension points, I put it in Anomaly Power, Anomaly Damage, Weapon Damage, and then cooldown reduction. These are pretty much the main four that you probably want to go for. If you have more, you could probably add it to maybe Skill Leech or close range damage for your weapons. Other than that, I mean, pretty much self-explanatory here. I don't have, my Devastator is probably the lowest level, so I don't have that many points anyway. But yeah, these are the main four that you probably want to go for. Okay, so starting out with the guns. I had a hard time trying to figure out what type of gun that I wanted to use with the build. As you know, Devastators usually specialize in shotguns, but I couldn't find a shotgun that really just messed with the build itself. So I was lucky enough to get this Torture submachine gun, since it is close range, to drop for me with Flesh Render in the first slot. Successful shots create spikes under the enemy that deal 50% of total firepower as damage over 2 seconds. So, of course, when I use my skill, it's going to increase my armor, which is going to increase my firepower, which is going to also increase the damage of Flesh Render. Fortress shots increase your core armor and resistance by 5%, stacking up to 3 times, total of 15%. At maximum stacks, the buff is doubled to 30, and additionally grants 25% damage to increase for 10 seconds. So when the at max stacks, you're going to get that 30% armor buff, which is going to increase your firepower, which is also going to increase Flesh Render. And then you're going to get a 25% damage increase on top of that for 10 seconds. And then I have Concentration Blast in the third slot. It is not a required mod, but it does help. Critical shots cause enemy to explode, dealing 140,168 damage, multiplied by the maximum number of enemies within a 6-meter radius around the original target, with a 3-second cooldown. So when you do your Endless Mass and then the Boulder Dash, whoever's still standing, you land those crit shots, gonna cause an explosion and finish them off. Next, I have the Mythos with the Omen mod in the first slot. Shots launch a cover-piercing anomaly projectile that inflicts bleed, deals 397,112 damage, and applies a status that increases damage received by 10% for 3 seconds. And then in the second slot, I put Mage Rage. Critical shots grant 10% anomaly power bonus for 15 seconds, stacks up to 4 times for a total of 40% anomaly power. So, of course, this is synergy again. When I get my anomaly power up, it's going to increase my armor, which is going to increase my firepower. And then I have Ultimate Bone Shrapnel. Critical shots detonate the enemy's bones and turning them into shrapnel that deals 492,902 damage and inflicts bleed on enemies within a 5-meter radius with a 3-second cooldown. So those crit shots is going to inflict bleed to the main enemy and the enemies that are around them in that 5-meter radius. And of course, it's going to help finish off everybody else. Now, I like to use these the submachine gun up close, And then I use the mythos from a distance. I like to use the mythos from a long range or when I'm using a lot of times against bosses. So because it helps get my nominal power up. Plus my boulder dash does a lot of damage, of course, as well. So you can see the synergy between these two weapons: my nominal power, my armor, and the firepower. Now for the record, the set itself is a firepower set. So you see bonus firepower in the three pieces that I chose. But the last two sets, the last two pieces are anomaly power. So starting with the helmet, I got primal weakness. Boulder dash permanently reduces resistance of all damage to enemies by 30%. So enemies are going to be able to take more damage each time permanently when I use Boulder Dash on them. And then I only have one mod for Earthquake. Damaging enemies with the skill steals 33% of their armor. Effect lasts for 5 seconds. So anytime I use Earthquake, that's a boost to my armor and my firepower. And then High Intensity for Endless Mass. Anomaly damage against affected targets is increased by 30% for 6 seconds. So those enemies caught within my Endless Mass is going to take extra damage from my Boulder Dash. Primal armor for Boulder Dash doubles your armor when the skill ends for 5 seconds. So when I use Boulder Dash, after it ends, I'm going to get double my armor. Plus, I'm going to get an extra 20% armor after the skill ends. So that's going to be a huge boost to my it's going to be a huge boost to my firepower. And then I have in the third slot, Boulder Dash inflicts bleed on all damaged enemies. It's not a required mod, but it helps. And then for the pants, I have Primal Chain Gun, Boulder Dash. Every enemy damaged by the skill increases your weapon damage by 20% for 5 seconds. Stacks up to 5 times, which is a total of 100% weapon damage increase. Again, this comes in handy for those enemies that are still alive after you use your Boulder Dash and Endless Mass. So you can just mow them down. And then I have Captain Hunter in the second slot. Increases your damage against elites by 16%. And then in the third slot, I have Bone Crusher, Endless Mass. Increases skills damage by 243,328 damage. It's not a required mod, but it helps. And then for my gloves, these are anomaly gloves. I have Shattered Armor in the first slot. Endless Mass increases weapon damage against affected enemies by 25% for 6 seconds. So, again, that helps mow down whoever's still alive. I have Thunder's Legacy. You become charged with Anomaly Lightning, dealing 749,594 damage over 8 seconds to 3 enemies within a 10-meter radius with an 8-second cooldown. This is a mod for when you get in those crowded enemies or those melee enemies want to come up, and when they get close, you'll be able to shock them and pretty much take them out. At least 3 of those enemies out. And then I have Power Assimilation in the third slot. Boost your anomaly power by 50,353 for each elite present on the battlefield. This is not a required mod, but it helps. And then on the feet, I have Bleed Them All. Endless Mass inflicts bleed on all the enemies pulled by the skill. And I have Tainted Blood in that second slot. Increases the damage dealt to enemies afflicted with bleed by 16%. As a side note, for those, if you don't have Thunder's Legacy unlocked, or maybe you don't really like how Thunder Legacy work or whatever, a couple suggestions that you can use in place of Thunder's Legacy. So in the node, of course, you're going to be getting your shield up. So you can use Shield Blast. A complete shield depletion triggers a powerful energy blast, dealing 502,874 damage to enemies within a 5-meter radius with an 8-second cooldown. You can use that since you're going to be having your shield up. If you get ganged up on and your shield goes away, it's going to cause that blast, dealing that damage and taking those enemies out. Or you can use Shield Zap. When your shield is active, it spawns an electric shock around you, dealing 676,790 damage up to 2 enemies within a 5-meter radius. This is only 2 enemies, but it's still it's an alternative. And then the third suggestion that I have, the last one, is shock and awe. When an enemy hits you with a melee attack, every target within a 10-meter radius is struck by anomaly lightning that deals 653,848 damage with an 8-second cooldown. Honestly, I think shock and awe might be the way to go over Thunder's Legacy. I mean, you could argue that shock and awe might be better, but I mean, it's totally up to you. Like I said, you're gonna be in crowds of enemies a lot. So, um, whenever you get hit by the melee, then you're just gonna strike those enemies with lightning, and it's also a bigger radius too, a 10-meter radius. So, if you have either Thunder's Legacy or Shock and Awe unlocked, either one will work. If not, you can use those. You can use Shield Zap or Shield Blast in place. So those are just the suggestions I have for you. Now, let's get into the tips and strategy of the build. Just as a quick showcase, I want to show you guys the boost that you get from using your skills. So when you use Earthquake, you're going to get the initial boost, but then it's also going to go up. The armor and the firepower is going to go up because of the 20% armor you get after the skill ends. And then they're going to go back down. So when you use Boulder Dash, you're going to go up to 1.2 million armor and 617k firepower due to the anomaly power boost and all the extra armor that you get from when the skill ends. There's only one strategy to this build, and that is to spam Boulder Dash. When you get a chance, use Endless Mass to gather all your enemies together and run through them like a train with no brakes. You are a human bulldozer. There should be no reason why you shouldn't be spamming Boulder Dash because it's the shortest of your cooldowns of all your skills. It gives you a weapon damage boost, it gives you an armor boost, it gives you an anomaly power boost. So as long as you spamming it, you'll be fine throughout your mission. It breaks armor really easily from these alphas. It interrupts the big elites really easily as long as they don't have the resistance aura on them. And you'll be able to take enemies out pretty quick. You're gonna see in this footage here that there's 2 alphas and the brood mother shows up. Now, as I put Endless Mass on her, the 2 alphas gets their armor on. I hit one, takes his armor off, the other one still has his armor on. As I do it again, I take the armor off of the other one, and then you're gonna see this brood mother get her armor on it. See, the Boulder Dash took it off right then and there, and then I was able to mow her down. So you want to make sure you spamming Boulder Dash as much as possible. In this next footage, you're gonna see me use it to even get out of a small situation of getting hit with these crystals. Because of the speed boost, you're able to do so. Now there's only one tip that I have for you guys that I like to call the 1-2 punch. Now the reason why I call it the 1-2 punch is because you want to make sure that you're using your skills and your guns together. So anytime you use your skill, make sure you use your guns right afterwards. That way you can take full advantage of the extra weapon damage that you're getting each time you use the skill. So whether if it's Endless Mass, whether if it's your Earthquake, whether if it's your Boulder Dash, either way you're going to be getting a damage boost once the skill ends or when you activate the skill itself. So you want to make sure you use your weapon and your skills together. Like one after the other every time. So that's really the main tip that I got for you guys, the 1-2 punch. Alright guys, so that pretty much covers everything about the build. Hopefully you guys like what you've seen. As you can see, this is a pretty great hybrid build between all your stats. This is probably like one of the first builds that I can say that you get a boost in everything you do, from using your skills to landing crits with your weapons to even like being in close range. So hopefully this motivated you guys to try to put this build together yourself. I don't really have any negatives about the build, to be honest with you, but if you guys find any, please let me know in the comment section. If you like the content that I'm dropping, please like, share, and subscribe. I'm gonna leave you guys some gameplay. And with that being said, man, Redline out.
Some clown just locked me in with a bunch of local wildlife. Lots of bodies in here, too.
You think those bodies are food for those creatures? The insurgents were keeping them alive?
Maybe.
If you're going to die in there, can you let me know so I don't waste any more time on this damn radio?
Smells like a sewer. There a way across?
Most likely. Well, you'll have to wade your way through the bullshit.
Yeah. We know the feeling.
I don't see how, ex-marshal, when your legs don't work, you would just float on top of the bullshit like a log.
Both of you. Clear the damn radio. for.
Oh shit! Shit! You damn moron, Jimmy! You let the fucking monsters in here with us too! Shoot them! Shoot them!
Idiots. Facility is clear.